Noah watched the empty chair at the edge of the park bench every morning. The air felt colder since Amara left for the Mars colony 2 months ago. He missed her laugh and her quiet strength. The sky above seemed too vast and too distant. In that silence, he felt a deep ache. He longed to see her face again. He spent hours walking the green paths where they once met. Each flower reminded him of her smile. Each bird song felt like a whisper of her voice. He had tried calling her many times. The signal bounced or failed. He read her last message again and again. "Stay strong," she had written. But he did not know how to stay strong. At night he opened his tool chest and stared at the spare parts from his old radio project. Humans had always solved hard problems. Noah believed he could reach her if he tried a new way. His heart beat with hope. He remembered how they built a treehouse together when they were children. They never gave up then, and he would not give up now. He spent a whole Saturday in his small workshop. He soldered wires and tested circuits under dim lights. Worked. On improving the range of his homemade transmitter, he programmed a simple code that could send a message in short bursts. Each beep felt like a step closer. Sweat dripped down his face, but he smiled as he heard tiny static replies in his tests. Outside his window, the stars blinked at him. Mars shone faintly among them. He imagined Amara looking up at the same sky. The thought warmed him. He packed his device into a sturdy case and carried it to the hilltop. He placed it on a tripod under the open air. His hands trembled as he turned on the power and tuned the antenna. For hours, he watched the lights on the device flash. He sent a simple call. "This is Noah. Can you hear me?" He waited. The wind blew gently. Time stretched thin and long. He felt tired, but he refused to stop. He whispered, "Humans never stop." That promise lived inside his heart. He would keep trying until she replied. Just when he thought the night would end without an answer, a soft tone came back. "Noah?" The voice was clear and warm. Tears welled in his eyes. He dropped to his knees in joy. "Amara, it's me," he cried. They talked under the stars for what felt like hours. Each word closed the distance between them. Each laugh bridged the empty space. Amara told him about red sands and the chilly winds on Mars. She described her new home and its strange sky. Noah shared stories of blooming flowers and busy streets on Earth. They planned a new project together. He offered to send her a crate of seedlings. She promised to teach him new words from the colony. At the end, they said goodnight, hopeful and happy. Noah packed up the device and walked home by starlight. He felt lighter than he had in weeks. The hill looked the same, but now it felt alive. He knew the world could be vast and cold, but he remembered that humans could fill any space with hope. He would keep building new ways to reach those he cared about, no matter the distance. The next morning, Noah went to the bench in the park. He folded a small note and placed it on the seat. "We are never too far," he wrote. He looked at the sky and smiled. Amara's reply came in his mind like music. He believed that one day they would meet again, under Earth's bright sun or beneath Martian stars. Until then, hope guided him. In the days that followed, Noah and Amara kept their nightly calls. Each call brought new dreams. They sketched plans for a shared lab floating between Earth and Mars. They spoke of new stories and new inventions. They laughed about old memories. They helped each other through hard days. Their bond grew stronger despite the miles of space. Between them, Noah shared his progress with friends on Earth. Engineers and artists joined to build better links. On Mars, Amara rallied her colony to help. He painted bright murals on the domes and named each. One after someone on Earth, they sent small drones with personal messages around orbiting satellites. Each message carried laughter, art, and hope. Across space, as weeks turned into months, the communication link grew stronger. Noah and Amara tested new technologies and taught other people how to connect across worlds. Their work inspired many. A community of humans began to span the distance. They proved that no distance could break a bond made by caring and creative spirit. In that triumph, Noah found his heart full of hope, and he felt at home again. Noah woke early and climbed to the hilltop. The stars still hung in the sky, and he felt proud of what they had built. For weeks, the link with Mars had been strong. But today the lights on his device did not blink. His calls ended in silence. He pressed send again and again. Each time he heard only static. His heart felt heavy with worry. He thought of Amara and her gentle voice. He checked every cable and saw no errors. He sat on a rock and held the case in his lap. Tears came to his eyes as he remembered their last call. He had told Amara he loved her. She had promised to write back. He felt alone and cold. The wind whispered around him. He whispered back, I will not give up. That thought became a small spark of hope. He stood and walked down the hill. He would find a new way. At the lab on Earth, friends and volunteers heard the news. Engineers gathered around simple screens. They saw the network falter. Artists joined, too, sending messages of support. On Mars, Amara felt the silence. She paced the dome and felt emptiness. Then, she remembered the solar shield they built. She ran to the comms room. She studied the readings. She knew they could solve this challenge together. At sunrise, Noah met with the team by the old radio. They spread devices on a long table. They tested solar power and battery packs. They cleaned the antenna lens with care. They adjusted the code and reloaded the software. Volunteers passed small tools and steady hands. Amara joined by video link when the signal held. She offered ideas on how to route the beeps. They wrapped each device in thin foil to shield it. Noah felt his hope grow with every small success. That night, they waited under the sky again. Noah sat beside a small fire. He watched its glow and felt warm. He showed Amara a photo of their old treehouse. She smiled in the faint link and waved. Then the device clicked. A soft beep rose in the dark. Noah jumped up and held his breath. Was it a message? He tuned the dial. The tone came back clearer. He whispered, "This is Noah," Amara answered with a laugh like wind chimes. They spent hours talking in the night. Amara told him of bright Martian dawns and red canyons. Noah spoke of green fields and rain on Earth. They shared their dreams and new plans. Then the link faltered again. The firelight flickered as the signal faded. Noah felt his heart drop. But he remembered his promise. Humans never stay down. He rewrote a small part of the code on his tablet. Amara updated the instructions on Mars. Together they found the best frequency. The beacon glowed steady once more. Over the next days, they worked with others to set up a backup network. They placed small repeaters on satellites and rovers. They painted bright markers on each device. Children on Earth and Mars drew cheerful art on the casings. Each picture held a message of care. Every helper felt part of something bigger. Noah and Amara saw hope grow in each new step. They made a map of the network and sent it around. They knew that when people joined hands, no distance could break their bond. Finally, they had two strong channels. One link for voice, one for data and art. They tested each one with jokes and poems. Amara received a digital rose and a song from Noah. He heard her humming in return. They shared a moment of quiet joy. They promised a real meeting at the new space station between Earth and Mars. They planned to travel together for the first time in years. They would build a new treehouse there, as a gift to all who felt far apart. Hope now lit their world like sunrise. Noah watched the launch from his window. The rocket glowed bright as it rose. Mara waved from the station window. They saw each other's faces through glass and smiled. Distance again melted away. Each had felt lost and afraid. But they climbed hope's ladder together. that humans could bridge any gap. Their hearts beat as one. And in that proof, they found the greatest discovery: love can span worlds. Noah stepped into the low-gravity lab on the orbital station and froze. The chair at the main console was empty. He ran a hand over the smooth metal desk where Amara had sat only hours before. Now she floated down a corridor toward her quarters. He felt the old ache in his chest.
Ow!
Even here, just one station away, she was too far. He wanted to reach her voice, her smile, but he did not know how. The silent lights above made him feel small. He sank into the empty chair and closed his eyes, reminding himself that humans carry hope in their hearts, even across empty space. He opened his eyes and looked around the high-tech lab. Screens glowed with data on communications, but none showed Amara's signal. He tapped a key and watched numbers scroll past. He remembered Earth and Mars linking at last, but on the station the link seemed weak. He thought of the old treehouse they built on Earth. In his mind's eye, he saw their carved names on the wooden beam. They had laughed under bright leaves. In shared dreams, if they could build a treehouse then, they could build a new meeting place now. Noah floated to a locker and pulled out a small headset and gloves. He and Amara had planned a virtual garden, a safe space, where they could meet. Anytime he clicked through code on a tablet and watched a simple grid appear on the central holoscreen, the grid would grow into petals and leaves. But the audio channel crackled and died. He tapped again. Static greeted him, pressed his palm to his forehead and let out a slow breath. Still he felt a flicker of hope. If the signal failed, he would fix it. Humans never stopped until they solved a problem. He dove into the code line by line, checking each link between server and headset. He swapped cables, tightened connectors, and cleaned the optical ports. His heart pounded, not with fear, but with determination. Outside the window, the blue curve of Earth floated above the red glow of Mars in the distance. He pictured Amara under the red sky, working through the same challenges. The thought warmed him. He typed a new routine for signal boosting. He leaned back and hit run. The holoscreen flickered, then glowed. A green dot appeared to Mara's avatar. "Can you see me?" he asked softly. A small figure bloomed. In the grid a single rosebud. "I see you." Amara's voice chimed through clear audio, like bells in the wind. Noah smiled so wide his eyes stung. He reached out and the rosebud floated to his hand. He laughed and spun in the chair. The virtual sky filled with petals. Amara's avatar practiced a dance around him. Each movement closed the empty space. Between them, they talked in whispers and laughter, sharing memories of storms on Earth, red sunsets on Mars, and the hope that had guided them here. After they shut off the system, Noah hovered in the lab, feeling lighter than he had in days. He carried the empty headset to a shelf and placed it beside Amara's. He believed that soon they would walk the station corridors side by side. He thought of inviting their friends to the virtual garden, so others who felt alone could find a meeting place too. Outside, the station lights blinked in time with his heartbeat. He imagined corridors filled with voices, art, and music, new human traditions spanning worlds. That night, Noah flew to the observation deck and gazed at the shimmering stars. Mara's quarter lit up in the glow of distant solar arrays. He raised his hand in a wave, and she waved back through the viewport. For a moment, they hovered there, two figures separated by glass and airlocks. Then he whispered, "We will bridge every distance." He knew the days ahead would bring new problems, delays, power losses, long waits. But he also knew that humans, as a whole, took on every challenge with hope and creativity. In the days that followed, Noah and Amara opened their virtual garden to others on the station. Engineers and artists shared new ideas for the environment. Poems and songs of Earth and Mars filled the space. People who felt lost found comfort. In the petals floating around them, Noah watched newcomers smile and laugh, and he felt his own hope grow even more. He understood at last that distance meant nothing when people cared and built new ways to reach each other. In that truth, he found strength for the next step of their journey, and he felt closer to Amara than ever before. Amara floated down the empty corridor of the station and pressed her fingers against the glass. Beyond the pane, Earth glowed like a fragile blue marble. She missed Noah's steady voice and his gentle laugh. Even though they could talk through the virtual garden, she felt a hollow ache. She longed to see him in person, to feel the same air. She did not know how to close the real distance between them. But she held on to one truth. Humans never give up when someone they care about feels far away. That evening, she tried a video call. She opened her laptop and watched the screen spin. Her shift in the hydroponics lab ran late, and Noah was asleep on Earth. The message window stayed dark. Her heart sank, but she did not let it break her spirit. She shut the laptop with a soft click and breathed in the recycled air. She would find a new way to reach him. She remembered how they built a radio transmitter on Earth, against all odds, and connected across millions of miles. If they could do that once, they could do it again. Amara pulled on her gloves and went to the supplies locker. She gathered spare servos, small solar cells, and parts of a broken maintenance rover. She sketched a plan on a tablet, a tiny drone that could carry a message in a capsule. It would launch from the station, glide toward Earth orbit, and drop. Her letter to Noah. She tapped her pen against her chin and smiled. This was a human idea. When people care, they invent. When they miss someone, they build. The next morning, she found the station's chief engineer, Marek, near the reactor core. Marek paused his work and listened as Amara showed her sketch. It might work, he said quietly. He smiled with tired eyes. Let's do it. They gathered volunteers from the habitat and the lab. Together, they cut panels, wired circuits, and wrote simple code. Late into the day, they had a small drone with silver wings and a clear capsule at its heart. Amara placed her handwritten letter inside, along with a smooth red Martian pebble she had carried since childhood. When the drone stood ready on the launch pad, Amara held her breath. She tapped a button on her wrist console. The airlock hissed open. The drone drifted into the ring of sunlight where the station orbited. Amara watched its tiny form shrink against the black sky. For a moment, she felt alone. Then the console beeped with a readout. The drone had powered on its solar cells and aligned its wings. It was flying. On Earth, Noah woke before dawn. His apartment was dark and silent.
Oh.
He stepped onto his balcony and looked up. He saw nothing. But stars? Then his phone buzzed with an alert. Unexpected object entering low orbit. Engineers at the local spaceport tracked the path of a small drone gliding down. Noah's heart raced.
Nice.
He grabbed his coat and ran to the landing field. The chill of pre-dawn, he found a soft thump on the metal pad. There lay the drone, its wings folded and its capsule intact. Noah opened the clear capsule with trembling fingers, pulled out Amara's letter and the smooth red pebble. He read her words by the glow of a street lamp. No matter how far we float, I send you this. When you hold it, know I am there with you. Tears came, but he smiled wide. He pressed the pebble to his heart. He lifted his face to the sky and whispered, I feel you. That night, Noah wrote back by hand. He packed his message, a pressed wildflower from Earth and a small drawing of their treehouse into an identical capsule. He loaded it onto his own drone, built from spare parts of an old weather proband, sent it up from the edge of the atmosphere. He watched the little craft tilt its wings and ascend toward the stars. He felt hope burn bright in his chest. Over the next days, they sent capsules back and forth. Each drone carried laughter, poems, small gifts, and simple art. When one drone failed, they tweaked its design. When a capsule opened too soon, they padded it better. They shared each failure as a victory because every try brought them closer. Friends on the station and helpers on Earth cheered each launch. The story of two people who missed each other spread wide, and many felt inspired. Amara and Noah built a schedule. Every week they would send a message this way. They knew it would never replace seeing each other, but it made the gap feel smaller. They proved that humans could solve any problem when love and hope were at the core. They showed that distance was no match for creativity and care. In every drone's flight, they sent a bit of their hearts. And in each landing, They found the warmth of home. Noah sat alone at his workbench before dawn. The sky outside his window was still dark, and the hum of power tools in his small workshop was the only sound. He held the VR headset in his hands and remembered the last drone message from Amara. The red pebble she sent lay warm in his palm. He had read her words again and again. We are never too far, but still the ache was there. He missed her gentle smile and the way she leaned close when she laughed. The weekly drone flights helped, but each landing felt like a reminder of all the miles between Earth and Mars. He sighed and set the headset down. He did not know how to close the distance for real, yet he believed in one human truth: people. Find a way. He spread a sheet of paper on the bench and sketched a treehouse under a bright sky. He drew wooden beams and a rope ladder, added leaves and a small table where he and Amara could sit. He wrote atop the page, "Our meeting place." He tapped his pen against his lip, feeling a spark of hope. Noah sat at his desk before dawn, staring at the launch schedule on his screen. The date glowed in bright letters, August 5th. He remembered the last time he saw Amara's smile floating inside the station's viewport.
Ow!
The time to meet was almost here. His heart beat fast with both hope and fear. He longed to hear her voice without a headset. He wanted to see her reach out and hold his hand. But a small warning blinked on the schedule: possible delay. He pushed back his chair and walked to the window. The early light painted the sky in pale blue. He thought of Earth's soft breeze and Amara's laugh echoing across a Martian dome. He had worked so hard to build a ship that could take him to her station. Now something threatened to push that dream away. He felt a deep ache in his chest, did not know how to fix it. But he remembered how humans always found a way. In the engine bay of the launch pad, engineers gathered around. A damaged thruster. The team discovered a crack in a fuel line. It would take days to replace. The chief engineer shook his head. "We might miss our launch window," he said. A heavy silence fell over the group. Noah felt his hope drain away. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Human hearts do not break." Then he straightened his shoulders. He would not let despair win. He would use this setback as fuel for creativity. On Mars, Amara saw the same news on her station feed. The red wind howled outside the dome as she read about the crack. Her heart sank. Weeks of work seemed to fall apart in a single line of text. She pressed her hand against the transparent wall, feeling the chilly hum of life support. Tears gathered in her eyes, but she blinked them back. She thought of Noah's steady hands and bright eyes. She knew he would find another way. She opened a call to the station's engineering bay. Together, Noah and Amara convened their teams over the secure link. Engineers on Earth shared video of the cracked line. Technicians on Mars showed how the local materials could be used to craft a repair sleeve. Artists from both worlds sketched tools needed for the fix. Children at schools on Earth and Mars drew designs of the new part. Everyone pitched in. Hope in the chat grew with each message. Humans stacked their skills across space. They turned a broken part into a shared purpose. That night, Noah worked late in the fabrication shop. He hammered metal into shape and welded joints by hand. His gloves were worn, and his face was streaked with sweat. He tested the fit of the new sleeve on a practice pipe. It slipped on snug and held firm under pressure. He grinned wide. He thought of Amara's smile when she heard the news. He packed the part into a sturdy crate. Tomorrow, a cargo flight would carry it up. He believed that small act would bring them closer. On the station, Amara and a team of roboticists prepared the repair. They drew up instructions in simple steps so volunteers could follow. When the cargo drone arrived, she and two engineers floated the crate into the bay. They worked in low gravity, guiding tools and parts with care. Each turn of a wrench and each seal of tape felt like a promise. Outside, the red sky glowed through the windows. They tested the thruster again. The engine roared to life in a steady, quiet hum. Meanwhile, Mission Control rescheduled the launch for August 6th, just one day later. Noah and Amara saw the new date appear on their screens. Cheer rose up in both control rooms. Noah punched the air and grinned. Amara clapped her gloved hands together. They exchanged a look of shared triumph through the link. In that moment, the space between Earth and Mars felt smaller than ever. Hope lit every face on the screen. They had turned a crisis into a victory. As the sun rose over the launch pad, Noah stood in his flight suit and walked to the rocket. He placed his hand on the cold metal hull. He whispered to the ship, "Take me to her." He knew that tomorrow he would see Amara face to face. On the station, Amara watched the rocket's trail of light in her viewport. She pressed her hand to the glass, feeling the vibration through the walls. She whispered back, "I'll be there." Across millions of miles, two hearts beat as one. In the quiet that followed, Noah and Amara sent each other a final message before rest. "See you tomorrow," they wrote. Then they closed their eyes, each dreaming of the moment their ship docked at the station. They believed in human strength and in hope. They proved that distance and broken engines could not stop them. For humans, every challenge was an invitation to innovate. And in their shared resolve, they found the greatest proof that hope can bridge any gap. Noah woke before dawn on August 6th. The sky was still dark when he walked to the launch pad. His heart beat fast as he thought of Amara and every message they had sent. Now he had one final step, to fly to the station and see her face. He climbed the ladder into the sleek rocket and settled into the seat. The straps felt snug around his shoulders. He tested every switch and gauge. The engines glowed with promise. He closed his eyes for a moment and whispered, "Humans never give up." Fear slipped away and hope filled his chest. At liftoff, the rocket shuddered as it roared to life. Noah pressed his back into the seat and gripped the handles. Earth's blue curve sank behind him and the air grew thin. He felt himself lifted by the engine's steady push. Through the viewport, he watched clouds shrink into soft white patches. He thought of Mars's red deserts where Amara worked, and he smiled through the rumble. The journey felt smooth, but each second stretched long. He repeated their motto. In his mind, we span the distance. In that determination, he found calm. An hour later, the docking procedure began. The rocket glided toward the station's ring like a bird approaching a nest. Noah guided the controls with steady hands. Outside, station lights blinked in greeting. He aligned the port and felt a gentle thud as docking clamps latched. The cabin fell silent. He unstrapped himself and floated free in low gravity. His fingers brushed the wall as he moved along the corridor. He carried a small case, and one hand inside was the final gift he had built for her. With each step, his hope grew stronger. He reached the main airlock and paused. The door's edge glowed green, then slid open. In the soft light of the station's habitat module, he saw her. Amara floated beside a window, holding a tray of seedlings for her hydroponics lab. She turned and her eyes widened. For a moment, neither spoke. Then, as if released by a single breath, they both smiled and reached out. His hands touched the sleeve of her suit. She let out a soft laugh that echoed in the cabin like music. Noah felt tears warm his cheeks. They held each other in a gentle embrace. In the quiet of the station, his heart felt full. He spoke first in a low voice. "I missed you." She pressed her glove to his chest and replied, "I missed you more." He opened the case and revealed a small model of their treehouse, built with fine metal and wood saved from Earth. She unwrapped a pebble of red stone and slipped it into his hand. Each gift held a promise. They had bridged the gap, and they would never let distance stand between them again. After they floated to a nearby table, they shared the stories of their flight and the repairs on the thruster. They laughed over the glitches and the celebrations that followed each small fix. Amara told of the station's bright art murals and the way the red sky changed at dawn. Noah described the cheers back on Earth when his rocket roared aloft, spoke of every hurdle they had faced and every helper who had joined them. Each story was a thread weaving their worlds together. In their voices sparkled pride human hands and hearts could build. Any bridge as the station's lights dimmed for the evening cycle, they moved to the observation deck. Through the wide windows, Earth and Mars glowed on either side of the station. They floated side by side, hand in hand. Amara whispered, "Look at our home." Noah nodded, awe shining in his eyes. Below them, satellites drifted like silent companions. He pressed his forehead to the glass, and she mirrored him. In that moment, they felt the galaxy hold them gently. They knew that tomorrow would bring new tasks expanding the Cums network. Sharing their designs, but tonight, they simply breathed together. Before sleep, they wrote a joint message for all who had helped them. Engineers, artists, friends, and volunteers on Earth and Mars. They thanked everyone for proving that human hope and unity could conquer any void. Then they sealed the message into a data capsule and sent it spinning into the station's Cums loop. It would travel to every corner of human space. Lying side by side in their small cabin, they watched the stars drift past the porthole. A distance had melted away. In its place was a new truth. Human hearts, when guided by hope and creativity, can span any gulf. Noah woke early on the day he would reach the station. He sat in his small room and looked at the stars outside his window. Earth's blue glow seemed faint from this distance. He felt his heart pound with hope and fear. Today he would see Amara again after months of messages and calls. He dressed in his flight suit and packed the small gifts he carried. Each gift was a sign of his hope. He left his room with steady steps and a brave heart, stepped into the cabin of his shuttle, and felt the quiet hum of the engines. He strapped himself into the seat and ran through his checklist. He tested each gauge and switch. The metal cabin glowed with soft lights. He replayed their last call in his mind, remembering her laugh and her kind words. He reminded himself that humans always find a way, closed his eyes and breathed in deep. He whispered, "I am coming," and felt a surge of hope fill him. Then he pressed a button, and the engines came to life. The shuttle shook, but he held on with calm strength. As the shuttle rose, Earth's green lands faded into blue and white. He pressed his forehead to the small window and watched the world below. He felt a pang of loss for the life he left behind, yet he felt proud of what he had built and what he had learned. Each mile brought him closer. Each moment showed him that no distance could break a bond made by care and creativity. He held tightly to the small case at his side and whispered, "We will be together soon." After a smooth burn, the shuttle docked at the station's port. He felt a gentle nudge and saw the hatch lights turn green. He unstrapped and floated forward. His boots touched the deck softly. He walked down the corridor toward the habitat module. The station's walls glowed with warm light. He carried his case in one hand and his heart in the other. His steps were calm, but his mind raced with joy. The messages they sent had taught him patience and hope, and now the moment had come. He entered the habitat and saw Amara by the window. She looked at him in surprise and ran forward. They met in a gentle embrace, their bodies floating in low gravity. He wrapped his arms around her and felt her warmth. He let out a soft laugh, and she laughed in return. Time stood still as they held each other. In that hug, they felt the miles between them vanish. The room glowed with new light. They felt like they had come home. They spoke only 2 words. "I missed you, and I missed you," but it was enough. They moved to a small table in the center of the module. He opened his case and gave her a small model of their treehouse. She smiled and held it close, as if it carried all their memories. Then she handed him a clear jar, filled with red sands from Mars. He touched the jar and felt its smooth glass. Each gift spoke of their journey and their hope. They talked for hours, sharing stories of the past and dreams of the future. Each word built a new bridge between their 2 worlds. Soon, others on the station joined them at the window. Fellow engineers and scientists came to greet Noah. They offered tea and snacks. Mara introduced him to her friends and showed him the murals painted on the walls. People spoke of their own stories of packing up home and moving to new worlds. Noah listened and smiled. He realized that every person on the ship had crossed a distance in their own way. He felt proud to be part of a human family that reached across the stars and the miles. That night, they all gathered on the observation deck. The big window showed Earth on one side and Mars on the other. They stood in a circle, holding hands and looking out at the glowing spheres. Amara and Noah stood at the center, their hands joined, someone played soft music, and others hummed along. They spoke of hope and wonder and how humans never give up. They raised a glass of water for a toast to new beginnings and to shared dreams. Each face shone with pride in what people could achieve. Later, Noah and Amara found a quiet room and sat on a bench. He held her hand and looked into her eyes. He said, "This is the dream we built, step by step, with hope and care." She nodded and replied, "Yes. We proved that distance means nothing when hearts are true." He felt tears of joy and wiped them gently from his cheek, leaned in, and kissed her forehead. In that small space, he found the greatest truth, that humans, with their endless hope and their bold spirit, can bridge any gap. Before sleep, Noah wrote a message to send back to Earth and Mars. He typed, "Today we met again. We are safe and happy. We built a new home in space, and hope lives in every light." Amara added her own words to the end. They sealed the message and sent it off on the station network to Earth and Mars. Then they looked out the window one last time. Silently, they watched as the stars blinked. In the soft glow of the lights, they held each other close. In that moment, they knew that hope would guide them always. Noah climbed into the hatch that led back to his shuttle. The day before, he and Amara had held each other in the station's glow. But now orders called him back to Earth for a month of planning the new communication array. He felt heavy as the lock sealed and the hatch sealed behind him. He hugged her in one last floating embrace, and she waved as the shuttle's airlock closed. He stared through the viewport at her small figure until the engines pushed him away. Distance opened again, and his heart sank. He did not know how he would fill the space between them this time. But he believed in one human truth. Hope guides every journey. He loaded supplies and strapped his message case into its mount. Inside were their recorded laughs and a small model of the station panel they had built together. He could almost hear her voice as he sealed the hatch and triggered the engines. Earth's blue glow grew through the window as the shuttle dropped back into the atmosphere. He felt the heat on the glass and thought of Mars's red sky above the station. Miles stretched between him and Amara once more. By the time he landed, he had lost direct contact with Station Coms. He stepped onto the landing pad and felt gravity press him down. He carried his case to the mission control hub where engineers and diplomats bustled around. They showed him data on the new deep space link between Earth and the station. They promised the link would be ready next month. Then a young engineer held up a small Cubon experimental relay that could bounce audio and video signals through. Low Earth orbit. Noah's heart leaped. He nodded. Together, they installed the cube on a test satellite by the hangar bay. He and the engineer ran cable and loaded code. He hit the power switch. A light blinked green. "We are closer already," he whispered. "We sent a test call. This is Noah. Are you there, Amara?" In an instant, her face filled a window. She smiled and waved from the station's broadcast bay. He let out a laugh that shook his chest. In that moment, the gap between Earth and station melted away. They spoke for hours. She showed him new art on the station walls. He showed her Earth's storm-driven seas and green forests. Every word felt like a plank on a bridge. The young engineer watched and nodded. Noah realized humans always found a way to stay together. He sent one last signal to the engineer. "Thank you," she replied. "No, thank you for believing." The cube blinked steady, carrying their voices across the sky. Over the next weeks, Noah split his time between Earth and orbit. He tested. Relay after relay, and volunteers on both worlds joined to build more cubes. Universities sent designs and poems. Schools launched small models. Artists painted murals on the modules. Each cube carried messages, laughter, and dreams. Its children on Earth drew cartoons of the station, and Martian students painted bouquets of Earth flowers. Each relay became a symbol of human unity, proof that no one must ever feel alone. As months passed, they improved the cube's design. They added tiny screens that displayed moving art from both worlds. When someone felt lonely, they stepped outside, found a cube, and spoke their name. Moments later, a reply lit up the screen, reminding them they were not alone. Noah and Amara watched these videos together on their private link, tears and laughter mixing as they saw the impact of their Hope Network. They felt pride in every smiling face. One clear evening, Noah walked through Green Park in his hometown. His phone buzzed with a live feed. He raised it and saw one of the new relay satellites drift across the starlit sky. Its lights glowed like a tiny constellation. Amara's voice came clear. "Look up," he did. He saw the point of light moving slowly overhead, waved at it and spoke. "I'm with you." People around him paused and looked up smiling. He realized his small moment was part of something bigger, a human network that spanned Earth and station. They all shared in the hope that no one would ever feel distant for long. That night, Noah placed the small model of the station panel on his desk beside the window. He looked at Mars's faint glow beyond the stars. He whispered, "We are never apart." He closed his eyes and listened as Amara's soft laughter filled his ear. They had turned distance into unity. They had proven that humans could span any gap with their hands and their hope. And in that proof, they found the greatest power, a bond that no distance could break.